like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Halloween. You know, the one with the guy in the white mask who walks around and stalks babysitters?
Yeah.
What's yours?
Guess.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is that the one where the guy had knives for fingers?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Freddy, that's right. I like that movie. It was scary.
Well, the first one was, but the rest sucked.
So, you got a boyfriend?
Why? You want to ask me out on a date?
Maybe. Do you have a boyfriend?
No.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. You will have heard by now of the passing of Wes Craven, a brilliant filmmaker and an eloquent champion of horror cinema. Amongst the tributes that have already been paid to Craven, I think perhaps the most astute came from Kim Newman, who tweeted, "Wes Craven reinvented horror at least 4 times. Most directors don't even manage it once." Of course, Craven did work outside the horror genre as well, thrillers such as Red Eye and the terrifically moving Music of the Heart. But the thing he was most well known for was films like Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. He was also really well known amongst film journalists as being everyone's favourite interviewee, always eloquent, always thoughtful, always generous with his time. He was one of the first filmmakers who granted me an interview when I started out in film journalism in the late 1980s, and over the course of the next few decades I interviewed him several times, in print, on the radio, and for a couple of television documentaries, Fear in the Dark and Scream Again. 3 things strike me as important about Wes Craven. The first was just how positive and upbeat he was about horror cinema. He considered horror cinema to be a creative and positive experience. He famously said, horror movies don't create fear, they release fear. As far as he was concerned, watching a horror film was a way of working out your personal demons in a safe space. The second thing is that he had a very, very strong moral core, which you could see through his work. There was a famous story about Craven walking out of a festival screening of Reservoir Dogs. I asked him about it later on. He said, well, it did happen. Perhaps it was a misjudgment, but it happened because he started to think that the film was enjoying its violence, that the violence didn't mean anything. As far as he was concerned, violence in movies needed to mean something. I mean, look at a film like Last House on the Left, a very controversial movie which I campaigned unsuccessfully to have released uncut in the UK many years ago. Yes, it's a very violent and grim movie, but it's about something. It's inspired by Ingmar Bergman's The Virgin Spring, and it's also inspired by television imagery of the Vietnam War. But the third thing about Craven that I think is important is his sense of playfulness, his sense of fun. When we were making Scream and Scream Again, one of the things I did was to ask a bunch of filmmakers to recount the tale of the hook, which Stephen King always cites as a core horror story, a morality story, a story of 2 young people going out to Lover's Lane, necking, but knowing that out there somewhere there is a hook-handed killer. It's a morality tale. And the message of the story seems to be, well, if you have sex, terrible things will happen. Or is that the message? In this case, as in so many others, I'm going to give the final word to Wes Craven.
I think the lesson is that you should not put the hook in the door unless you're absolutely sure the car is going nowhere.